Hi, Mr. Loader here. Wanted to talk to you about English for Monday, the 25th of January. Our Walt is to explain our choices for why a poem is our favourite. So I thought before I actually went into the lesson, I just explained that, of course, now we've started a new topic for English, and it's poetry. Okay, and we're going to be trying to think about nature poems, because our theme across the whole term is anything grows. So by the end of it, I hope that we'll be able to write a poem about our gardens or a park, maybe, or something within them. So this is our focus. So purpose is to describe. Our form will be a free verse poem, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. Our audience is for either people in school or our families, and our impact is to imagine a view, an image, or of an experience. Okay, so just to explain again, it's our Walt is to explain our choices for why a poem is our favourite. So I'm going to talk through and share some poems with you, okay, in a bit. But first, I'm just going to talk about different poems, because, like writing, there are different forms of poems as well as different forms of writing. Okay, so you might want to tell a partner or a grown-up some different forms of writing that you know of. Okay, and then I'm going to share some different types of poems. Okay, so I'll give you time to think. You want to pause the video? Right, here's some different forms of writing. We've got recipes, haven't we? That we might write instructions, maybe. We might write recounts. We might write letters. We might write persuasive pieces. So there's lots of different types of writing. Okay, so some great things about poems, and then I'm going to share with you some different types of poems. They can be funny, they can be made up, you can be really creative with them, they can be about anything you like, and they don't have to make any sense. And that is actually a type of poem, a nonsense poem, a poem that just doesn't make any sense. So here's some different types of poem. Now, free verse, I've put this one first because this is our aim. We aim by the end of it to write our own free verse poem. Okay, and with free verse there is a lot of freedom. Okay, there's not any restraints really. It can rhyme, but it doesn't have to. Okay, here's an example of a free verse poem. So it's called The Seagulls. The seagulls think we live at the seaside. The tower blocks are their cliffs. They swoop for fish in the gutter, but are happy that it's last night's fried rice. They stand about screaming on the pavement beach and ride the sea. Breezes pumped out by the cinema air conditioning. They hover over the waves of cars, and if you stare at them, wondering what they're doing so far from home, they stare back. This is our home now. That kebab is a crab. Okay, and that was from Michael Rosen's Big Book of Bad Things. Here's another one, an acrostic, okay, where it bases itself on a theme, and then each of those letters in that word, that main word, you will write maybe a sentence or some words to describe that thing. So this type of poetry spells out a name, word, phrase, or message with the first letter of each line of the poem. It can rhyme or not, and typically the word spout out lays down the theme of the poem. So in this case, it's ice cream, and you can see ice cream is down the side of it. So ice cream. I love every flavour. Cookies and cream, English toffee, chocolate chip, rocky road, even strawberry and almond fudge. A haiku. Okay, this is the last one I'm going to share with you. Now, this actually has a bit of restraint to it. So it's an ancient form of Japanese poetry, okay? But lots of people all over the world like it. It's renowned for its small size. Haikus consist of just 3 lines. The first and third lines have 5 syllables, whereas the second has 7. Haikus don't have to rhyme and are usually written to evoke a particular mood or instance. So this one's about beaches. Sand scatters the beach. Waves crash on the sandy shore. Blue water shimmers. Okay, and that's the end of the poem. Just 3 lines. There are some different types of poems as well. Nonsense poems, which I mentioned earlier. Okay, they don't have to make any sense. Okay, and they might even have made up words. So, for example, in this one, okay, my favourite word is floofy. It's such a floofy word. In fact, I'd say that floofy is the floofiest I've heard. I use it when I'm floofing up or when I'm all floofed out. Whenever I feel floofy doof, I give a floofy shout. I may not know what floofy means, but floofy? That's okay. I'm sure it's floofy, floofy, floof to floof it anyway. I know it might sound silly. I know it might sound goofy. But still, there's not another word that's floofier than floofy. Okay? They might also contradict themselves or use language in random or unusual ways. Okay, I just wanted to share some poems with you now. So this one's called My Big Fat Cat. Okay, and some people might like this poem. So the last one, people might have liked it, maybe because there was a bit of rhythm in it. They might have liked it because it was made up and they hadn't heard the word before and it was a bit silly. Okay, the word before, people might have liked it because it just created an image in their minds. The poem before, ice cream, some people around the world love ice cream. I'm quite a big fan of ice cream. Okay, so that might appeal to them. Seagulls, the seagull might have made people think about their time at the seaside. So this one's called My Big Fat Cat. I own a big fat cat, the fattest for miles around. Wherever there's lots of food, that's where he'll be found. He's really good at eating, it's a talent, I suppose. I'm sure if he keeps at it, he'd win the talent shows. I own a big fat cat. He weighs at least a ton. He couldn't run to save his life. Yes, he isn't much fun. His favourite room's the kitchen. I'm sure we all know why. He eats just about everything, so that's why, with a sigh. I'd like to tell you, teacher, I'd like to tell you straight, I might have accidentally dropped my homework in his plate. Okay, that was the end of that one. Now, here's some links to some authors reading some poems. Okay, the last one, it's just a text. But it's by Roald Dahl. Now, some of you will probably know Roald Dahl from some of the stories he wrote, but he also wrote some extremely good poems. So you might want to read those. They're rather funny. At some point, I'll probably share some with you. Now, I thought I'd share my favourite poem. Now, it's a bit strange why it's my favourite poem. There's a few reasons. Okay. Now, this is by Spike Milligan. Some of your parents will probably know who Spike Milligan is. He's a very funny man, bit wacky, shall we say? Now, I remember as a kid having a funny poem book. Okay, and this one really stands in my mind. I can remember it off by heart. Okay, because I've read it so many times, so it sticks in my mind, and I always just thought it was rather funny. But I haven't got a sister, so it doesn't mean anything to me. I just find it rather funny. So my sister Laura is bigger than me and lifts me up quite easily. I can't lift her. I've tried and tried. She must have something heavy inside. Okay, so the reason why that's my favourite is one, because it does make me chuckle a bit, and it's quite playful, and there's a bit of rhyme in there too. There's a nice bit of pace to it. Right, the next one is another Spike Milligan poem. Okay, and it's a rather wacky one. Okay, can a parrot eat a carrot standing on his head? If I did that, my mum would send me straight upstairs to bed. So again, another funny one. So this is your learning activity. Now, you might want to try these links before doing this. Make sure you do that, and I will share some more poems with you. Look through them, and what I want you to do is write about your favourite poem. Now, I've given you a bit of a structure here. My favourite poem is, and obviously write the title, because, and think about your reasons why that's your favourite poem. and then you have to say what happens in the poem. So if we did mine, my favourite poem is My Sister Laura, because it makes me laugh and there's a good pace to the poem. In the poem, the boy says that his sister picks him up really easily, but he struggles to pick her up. And then my favourite words in the poem are, now, this one's quite a hard one, but is this something heavy inside, I think, for me? Because that's the funny bit, isn't it? The boy isn't thinking that actually it's because she's bigger. Really, he's thinking that there must be something heavy inside her that makes him struggle to pick her up. Okay, so that's why those words stand in my mind. So they don't have to be really descriptive words. They're words that may be important to the poem. Okay, now this is the Fly Ho challenge. I shared this poem with you earlier. Okay, so you've got to write a 4-line stanza, so just the first verse, about your pet using this template from the first stanza of this poem. If you don't have a pet, write this short poem about one you would like to have. So this was from the poem that I read earlier to you. I own a big fat cat, the fattest for miles around. Wherever there's lots of food, that's where he'll be found. So it could be, I own a delightful dog, the cutest for miles around. Wherever there's lots of toys, that's where he'll be found. Okay, and of course, if you want to, because this is about a he, isn't it? This one, you could always change their he'll to she. She'll be found. Okay, and then once you've done that, could you share your Fly High challenge with a friend or someone in your family? Okay, right. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed those poems that I've shared with you so far, and you find those links, the videos, really enjoyable too, because poetry is enjoyable, and there's lots of playful things that you can do with it. Thank you.